my job.
Dr. Baez, welcome,
Thank you.
and thank you for being a candidate for the position of superintendent for the Lowell school system. It's been a long day, but the thing is, this has been a very worthwhile experience for us, and we hope it is for you. The school committee here's the process that we're going to use. You're going to have 5 minutes to give us, an introductory statement. It can be where you describe your biography. It could be a project that you've done that you want to talk to us about. It's your 5 minutes. We'll then ask one question each. With the last two candidates, we've been able to manage to get 2 questions in for each member of the school committee. And then finally, we allow you a closing statement for 5 minutes. In that closing statement, you also could say what you want. You may want to finish off with a question that you felt you didn't answer as well as you could have, or in some cases, what I have found, that many candidates, they never were asked the question they would like to have had, that one that they could hit a home run with, and the one that would basically tell who they are, really, okay? So that's your choice, okay, with all of that. So with all of that, I wish you well, and you can give your opening statement at this time.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me. It's really an honor to be here. So my first 5 minutes is very important to me to share with you part of my story. And I'm an immigrant from Colombia. My family came back in the 80s to the States, and I moved up here to go to college, and I stay. I've been here for the last 30 years down the street in Leominster, about 25 miles from here. This has been a great journey for me, and I love every aspect of my life. And I use my story, my experience to inspire kids that the story of an immigrant city or an immigrant person could be what we have in front of us today. I have the opportunity as an immigrant to be competing for the best and most important office for the city of Lowell. And as an immigrant, I would love to represent the city. I devoted my life, professional life, to be an urban educator. And I want to emphasize in urban education because it's a very clear distinction between a non-urban, a suburban district, and an urban district. And we have clearly here an urban district. And the solutions that we need to have for this city has to be very correlated to that need. As you have seen in my resume, on my accomplishments, I spent my whole life as an urban educator. I started my life as a teacher professionally in Fitchburg. And great opportunity to be there as an educator, second grade. The best smiles in the district is the second grade students in the school district. And then soon after, I became director of language acquisition. 7 years in that position in Leominster. And it was a controversial time because that was in 2002 when we passed the law of English only in 2002. So how to educate our English language learners effectively. So that became kind of a journey for me as an immigrant, as a second language learner, as a bilingual individual, very proud individual. I decided to continue my education. I went to Harvard for my master's in education. And I devoted my time to learn more about what the research is telling us about urban education. So I came back to Fitchburg as an assistant principal, and in that opportunity to be in urban education, I was able to start making changes that were fundamental for the districts that I was working in. After that, I went to Worcester. As you notice in my resume, I spent 6 years there, and one of the primary goals of my role there was to answer the Department of Justice query they have for this city. Eventually, they went to Boston, and as you know, the state went over that Department of Justice component. So the centerpiece of that lawsuit was equal access to opportunities in education, meaningful opportunities for students. And it was great, a great opportunity. I had a great journey there. I ended up being the manager. It's an assistant superintendent position there. And I was in charge of all the supplemental support services. Worcester has this model of RTI, response to intervention. You have core plus more, tier 2, and then tier 3 is special education. So in tier 2, every grant, every supplemental service was part of my division. And I was able to implement successful programs for all kinds of initiatives in the district. And after that, 6 years very successful, our students, ELL, 7,000 of them in Worcester, from 18% literacy rate in third grade, they move into 38%. So for me, focusing on execution more than ideas or research, which I do and I review, I'm focusing more on how can we help the conditions that our teachers have in front of them to be successful in the classroom. So after that, I decided to apply to the most challenging districts in Massachusetts, and I chose the 3 districts that were the more challenging districts: Lawrence, Holyoke, and New Bedford. Jeff Raleigh got Lawrence, and I got Holyoke a year after, and Holyoke was already in his fast track to become a takeover city like Lawrence was. And I spent my 3 years there trying to convince the commissioner that what happened in Lawrence is not what happened in Holyoke. And I developed with a team of people, we rallied the community, the parents, the leadership, everyone, to be able to come up with the most successful plan for our community. And we were able to have an amazing show of support the day before the decision was made. About 1,300 people show up to support all the programs and services we had there. A very proud moment for me as a superintendent, but the decision was already made. And it was probably made before I even became superintendent. So very frustrating for me, obviously. My job as a person hired by the school committee was to represent the city, and I was very loyal to that very end, to the point that it's a good anecdote to show here, because in April of 2015, you have a posting open for the superintendency of Lowell, and I never applied to it because I was loyal to the commitment that I have for the city. For me, integrity and supporting what I believe is important, and I commit everything. If 100% of what I do is devoted to what I want to do. So now the time is right. The time is right for me to be here, to put in practice everything that I have worked my whole life. And I want to make sure that I work with you and collaborate with the community, with the whole city, because we're talking about the future of our city, the future of Lowell. We could be strategically placed in one of the best geographical locations to make Lowell the best district we can have. And I tell you, after what happened in Holyoke, I can't wait to make this district the best district in the state, and why not the country. So thank you for the opportunity. I'm honored to be here and be happy to answer all your questions. But more than anything, I'm very excited to be an immigrant in front of you. Looking at my life in front of you is an amazing journey. So I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Baez.
Mr. Netta?
Good afternoon, Doctor.
Sir.
As we, go through our lives, we get to experience many different opportunities, many different challenges, and hopefully we grow and we learn from those events. Looking back at your time in Holyoke, and specifically the case of the Peck School and the challenges that you were presented with that. Looking back on that, if you were faced with the same information today, what did you learn from that experience that you would do differently?
Great question. Thank you for asking that question. And it's probably the first time I'm going to open a comment about that, because the case is closed. And I'm going to say 2 things about that case before I answer the question. 2 things that are very important for us as a governance of the school system is that we are responsible for everything that happens in the district. Every single one of us, the mayor, the school committee, and the superintendent. So anything that happens in our organization we are responsible for it. The second thing that is very clear in that case is that not a single person was suspended, not a single person was fired, not a single person was fined. 4 investigations later, nothing was demonstrated. The case is closed, it's settled. Unfortunately, I paid a big price for it, but this is what I learned from it. I trusted people to implement the plan that we had, and the implementation was happening without the fine-tuning that I was expecting. That created a series of things that became a faction that then collected all the information to present a lawsuit. And just to make sure that I am clear about the Disability Law Center and any organization that is doing this, in behalf of students with learning disabilities, and that's one of the reasons I never spoke about it, because more than anything, my role is to protect every child in the district. And not at all it was their fault or anything. It's a legitimate claim that they were arguing about, but the due process and the criminal justice system needs to take its course. And it happened. So my learning experience would be to trust but verify. And as a superintendent, being a smaller district, it's 5,600 students. Here is 14,000, in Worcester I have 25,000. So trusting is important, but I have to make sure that I follow through with the details of that implementation. So the investigation was very clear about every aspect of what happened. But unfortunately, the services weren't there, the excessive restraints, even though we have a 53% decrease on suspensions and expulsions and incidents, it wasn't sufficient to create the environment that the classroom or the school needed. Keep in mind also that Holyoke was, or still probably is, the lowest underperforming district in the state. And my desire to go there was to make the changes that they were needed. And I think that we set the foundation for the future. So I'm very proud of the work that we did there. And I'm hoping that, they continue to progress. But it was a very painful experience, not only for the families or the students, but the professionals involved in that process. But I'm glad that it's over, and then due process took place, and we have to just, as always, the school board and mayor and superintendent, we are going to be always in front of those situations because we are responsible of the district.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Samaras?
Thank you, Dr. Baez. My question is, teachers, the most important role you have as superintendent is showing leadership to our teachers, okay? We need someone who can direct the system, and more important, be able to give the support to our teachers in order for them to be able to do their job as best that they can. With that understanding, providing quality education, to help our teachers provide quality education, what steps would you have to take to show these teachers that you truly are a leader, that you understand what their needs are, and you're willing to work with them? And as important, my second question would be, if I were to walk into a school a year later after your superintendency and talk to some of the teachers, what would they say about you as a result of your work with them?
Thank you for the question. Absolutely. I think the core of our work are teachers. And my job as a superintendent is to create the conditions for them to do their job well. So how those conditions are important? I would say from starting point is class size. Class size is very important. The programs and the implementation of what we do in those classrooms is very important. If we have students with learning disabilities, or we have English language learners, or we have a curriculum that is high standards aligned to make sure everybody reach that component. So hiring the best teachers is priority number one. I also know that we have great teachers in this district, and based on results, we have schools that are level 1s, level 2s, and we have some turnaround schools that we need to work on. My job to ensure that those conditions are present is that we have to focus on what the students bring to the schools, what kind of gaps they have, what kind of challenges they have. In particular, we talk about students with learning disabilities or English language learners, which is most of the experience I have, but poverty is a big part, socioeconomics is a big part. So if we have teachers developing the best lesson plan, the best conditions they can, but then we have to work with the students to ensure that we have a differentiation of instruction for them. And I see three elements that are fundamental for this high quality of instruction is respect for the students, where they come from, what differences they have, what challenges they have, what gifts they have. That's number one. Second is high expectations, how we have the best and high expectations for everyone. And then three is how we provide the scaffolding for everyone to reach that expectation. So based on my experience, and I'm a teacher for some years and evaluate teachers for years, teachers understand the complexity of their job. Every minute of every day is in front of kids. So my job is to ensure that we have either the core, the instructional core, the curriculum standards, and then the supplemental services for them to be able to get the supplemental support, and then the specialized services in the tier 3 instruction. So part of the work is teaching during the day, and we have to be thinking about how after school programs, before school programs, and all the components are part of what happened with the experience of the teachers in the classroom. But coming into every single teacher, the gaps are very important. We have to assess the gaps students have when they come in. And I'm going to mention that. I know I'm going a little longer on this before I answer the second part of the question. If we don't address the gaps that students have coming into the school, we are going to have a gap that is going to be insurmountable by the time they get to middle school or high school. So that's what I devoted tremendous amount of time to the early literacy campaign in Holyoke, and we were nominated as the 2 innovation in education component, in which we developed the time and energy to provide programs and services from 0 to 5 years old. Our goal was to have kids coming into kindergarten with no gaps. If you have teachers getting students with no gaps, when they get to 3rd grade and they have the literacy level that they need, the biggest indicator of graduation is how the literacy rate in 3rd grade. We can foresee who's going to be graduating and who's not going to graduate. So making an effort in the front end is very important. So what I would like to see in a year from now, teachers saying about it is one very specific thing is, number one, is stability. I want the district to be stable about the finances. If we don't have a hold about the budget to be stable for the next year, that's very unsettling for everyone. Because in the prospect of having cuts and having no positions and no supplemental services and no specialized services, which is the 3 tiers I just mentioned, that brings all kinds of stress and levels of complexity that is preventing that teacher from being successful. And that's, again, my job is to create the conditions for those teachers to be successful. So I want teachers from day one to say, well, we have a leader who understands urban education, understands our community, understands the challenges our students have, and he's thinking about how to create networks of support to be able to ensure these kids get the services they need. If I don't address the whole context of what happened with our students, the teachers are going to be struggling year to year to year. In urban education, and I've been studying this for years, we have urban education challenges that create the factory of dropouts that we have in America today. And it's especially connected to poverty, to second language learners, to learning disabilities, minority groups. So for us to be able to look at the urban condition of our district and diminish those gaps and ensure that we have the network of systems of support to ensure that they have that, I'm expecting the teachers to say, yes, I'm doing the best I can, but it's going to be someone else or some other thing that is going to be the safety net to help me. And what I mean by that is the parent, the community, the leadership, all the partners and people that collaborate with us to be part of that network of support. We cannot be saying that the academic experience of kids belong just to the students. The parents, the kids themselves, is everybody working together on this. So I believe on these 5 perspectives about surrounding the education experience of the student to be able to be successful. And it requires everyone in the community. So I'm expecting the teachers to be comfortable with the leadership, stability about safety nets, and be able to have the future that is going to be connected to progressive thinking and be able to come out with plans that are going to ensure that we have the conditions for them to continue to be successful in the district. Thank you.
Mr. Dakota?
Thank you. Good to see you again, Sergio.
Good to see you, sir.
I'm sorry, Dr. Pius. My question is, Lowell High School has an exam school, and it's called the Latin Lyceum. Do you have an opinion on exam schools in general, and would you be a supporter of the Latin Lyceum to help it progress, maybe even expand it somewhat at the high school?
This is a great point, and since my visit to the district a few days ago, I've been thinking about one thing, and actually I went back and I started doing some research about this particular thing. I went to the middle school, and out of 56 students that were planning to go to the high school in 9th grade, only 18 of them were choosing the high school as an option for them to go. And I tried to pick their brain about why that was happening. So connected to this particular point, are we providing all the programs and services that are attractive for our families to join or select our high school? Are we doing programs that are addressing the needs of our students and then making our high school, the school of choice? For me, that's a very important component. But let me connect with the exam component of it. We have to be able to allow access to exam schools in the high school if it's a tracking for students who go into honors and AP or a faster track to get into college. That's fine, as long as we have other opportunities for students to reach that goal. And I give you an example of South High in Worcester. We have 444 students going into AP classes. I'm talking about just one group, Hispanic students. I'm sorry, all the students going into AP classes, and only 36 were Hispanic. And I said, okay, this is what we have right now. How can we do something to ensure that these kids have access to an AP class or different classes? So we started creating 2-3 years prior pre-AP classes for them to be able to access that. The work that we did in South High was so successful that US Week provided some research about what happened in that phenomenon. Many of the kids that 36 is about 200 and some kids were able to access AP. When we have exam schools and we have any program that is gifted and talented or successful or has anything specific for them, I'd be concerned about the access for everyone to get into that program. So I'm all for developing initiatives that are successful for the district. I'm all about being creative, about creating programs that are open for everyone, but my job is to ensure that everybody has access to it. And it's connecting a little bit with the gaps that I was talking about. If we have students, and data is very important, data-driven decisions, extremely important for us, and I'm sure you see data all the time with our reports and what we do give to you. But it has to be a connection between how well prepared the kids are. And let me use an example about that as well. In the last 10, 15 years, we've been using STEM as a fast track for girls to get into STEM careers. At this point in the state, girls, women, have been surpassing men on accessing that. It was a very concerned effort to be able to prepare students to get into STEM fields. We get a target, we move into that component. So I'm open to be able to talk about not only a Latin exam school or any other opportunities, but how can we provide access to everyone to be able to get the same opportunity. So the district has to be built to be able to provide access. And I don't know this is about who access these programs, but I would love to research that and see if we can come up with equal access for everyone and then create more opportunities for students to be making the high school the school of choice. So I'm a little worried, and I will address this later on about what some of the challenges for the district are. But having an attractive system to have parents come into our school system is a prime option for me. I mean, we have to make it the most attractive place for them to join the public schools. Thank you.
Mr. Hardy?
Good evening, Dr. Paez. My question is, I think you've got a pretty good sense of what some of our issues are that we're facing as a district. And my question to you is to pick two, one that you feel you could hit the ground running, and what in your background is going to enable you to solve that for us in a timely way, and one that would be more challenging for you and more of a stretch for you to be able to solve. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Great question. So I think the biggest challenge we have in this district, and one that I need to address right away, is how we have a plan to ensure that we have enrollment increase in the school system. And I tell you why is that something that I think is important. When I look at the charter schools and the state movement about opening other options for families to go to, what we don't realize, and this is a few years later, it's about 12 years, 15 years later, those funds leave with the student. So let's use an example of 25 students for one teacher. So let's say we lose 25 students, so that's the teacher that is teaching that class. But when we have 25 students leaving the district, it's about $300,000. The teacher is about $100,000 or $80,000 with benefits and all this. We have been abandoning the concept of how can we make a district more attractive, because it's always more challenging, and I know we have a building issue in the district. We have to make our buildings ready and equipped to be able to have more students and more programs and more services. But the most challenging thing I see in the district is, especially in light of 6 years of a plan for the high school, how can you have how can we have an under construction sign and then have decrease of students or enrollment into the high school? So we have to do something to ensure that we have programs and services that are attracting kids and families into the district. If we have a decrease of enrollments, we are going to be looking at a deficit in the next few years, not only because about 80-90% of every budget is salaries. So we need to make sure that we have enrollments that equal then more funding, 40% from 60 from the state, 40% from the city. That funding is going to allow us then to have more teachers, more services, provide more opportunities, more additional, more enriching opportunities for our kids. So that would be number one. I think having a very clear picture of what the future will be in the next 5 years is very important. I am envisioning something like in a strategic plan for educational excellence for the district. I think we have to correlate the district needs. Where are we going as a city? What is the industry is looking for? What is the private sector looking for? And how we can develop a strategic plan about what is the future. The future labor force of our city, the state, the country relied on us. And we have a diversity that is our strength, but we have to use that to be able to catapult our kids into a better opportunities in the world market. So those two things will be important to me, to be able to tackle the budget. As you know, is the most painful part of the process. To be looking at someone in the eye and said, we don't have a job for you, or we just recruited someone who's a super teacher or super employee, and then is the first one to be cut. When we made tremendous efforts to recruit that individual, is very, very painful. And it's competitive. Other districts will hire them and will take them away from us. So I think handling the budget very important. And second, making the district very attractive for our families to come in. Now, the most challenging part I see, because that's part of this, the second part of your question, is what is the challenge? Is how soon can I get to develop something that makes sense for the whole city? And it's gonna take time, and I don't wanna waste any minute. Every minute that we don't provide high quality education for our kids is a minute wasted. So for me to be invested in the community, be able to work with everyone, the Chamber of Commerce, the providers, I mean, and when you see the work I did in Holyoke, I was part of every board, trying to align those boards to what the district was doing. If we didn't do this together, if we don't do this together, these providers get grants, get purpose into their jobs and their commitment to serve our community. Those opportunities are to align it to what the school is doing. We have, and maybe the second, third largest employee is the public schools. We have to be able to provide the connections with the community, the connections with the environment, to be able to have that strategic plan moving on. So that would be the challenge, to be able to fine-tune that and start as soon as possible. The sooner the better, to be able to tackle those issues. Thank you.
Mr. Hoey?
Thank you. Nice seeing you again, Doctor. We're looking for an HR director. We haven't had one for a while. And I'd just like to hear how important an HR director would be for you.
Well, they're very important because I spent 2 years being director of HR, so they're essential to the district. Now, I think human resources is extremely important because that's the department that not only recruits and hires, but supports the professional throughout the life of the professional life of the individual. Human resources is so important, especially in a diverse district like this. In Worcester, when I was doing the recruitment, the diversity recruitment, and be able to use social engineering to be able to have the professionals that we need in front of our kids, is very important because if we think about bilingual individuals or individuals who look like our kids or professionals who have the skills in urban education or recruiting in the best universities to have teachers from day one work on what they need. Human resources is extremely important. The recruitment plan, the strategic connections with either colleges and universities, whatever organization that is going to be attracting to individuals, is extremely important. So human resources is a cornerstone for what I need to do, what we need to do as a district. I'm surprised that you haven't have a stable office with the human resources. I have a tremendous network of people that I worked for 2 years as an HR director. I'll be seeking their either candidates or someone who could be a part of the process to be able to hire someone who's going to be leading that office. But I tell you, human capital is very important. We have to be able to hire, recruit and hire the best people that we have in front of us. Every time in the last few days, I've been hiring a principal and teachers, and I spend a lot of time doing that work because I have to make sure that that person that is going to be leading or be in front of kids is the right person for the job. So human resources is extremely important. We also have tons of compliance, fingerprinting, insurance, all kinds of benefits the employees need and are entitled, and also protect our district. In the last 2 years, when I was doing the grievance resolutions and dealing with the issues with the union, you also need someone who has experience about that. You need someone who's not going to be combative with the union, who's going to be proactive on resolving issues, kind of a conflict resolution approach. I was very successful with that in Leominster. I use similar approaches that we use with the students in regards to restorative practices. And we avoid a lot of litigation because of that. We have to be able to have a trusting relationship with our employees. We have to have a strong relationship with the unions. We have to be in the same team. It's not a separate, it's not an antagonistic relationship. And as the superintendent, I'd be happy to recruit with you. I'll be able to bring forward some candidates that will be the right ones for the job. But it's a very important position, and I think that would be a tall task, so one of the primary tasks that we have in the beginning of my journey here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Lay?
Thank you. Dr. Paez, as you may already know that what had triggered the crisis for Lowell Public Schools and brought us to the meeting today was because we have lost a superintendent, a good superintendent who had good records of making improvement to students' performance. But unfortunately, the crisis could not be stopped, could not be prevented, and now here we are. So I like to think that you are going to be our next superintendent, and knowing that the state of situation that we are in, what makes you to have a confidence that you can take Lowell Public Schools, put it on your back, and move it to a better state of situation. To ensure that you would stay long enough to see the outcome of your work, who or which single interest group would you like to see happy under your leadership?
Well, let me start with that. I mean, every single child should be part of what I do. In every decision we made has to be centered on in every student. I have to make sure that every single student is benefited by our decisions. The focus of our core values should be about how we benefit our kids in the school system. It's unfortunate that the budget process happened and it's a crisis and the superintendent needed to be replaced. I think that any organization needs to be 3 to 5 years to be able to mature any recommendations that you do. Based on research, it's clear you need more than 3 to 5 years. But it's also about the plan. It's how can the plan be not about individual people, but about actions. I think the execution of many of these plans, and everybody has strategic plans, it has to be an actionable document. It has to be something that the principals, the teachers, every single one has an actionable component to it. So I'm confident that I have these skills because I devoted my whole life to be thinking about urban education and to do something about it. I really don't like to admire the problem. I like to do something about situations that are part of the situation that I'm facing. And I think that in my conversations with principals or my interactions with other professionals is how can I create the conditions for them to be successful. And I've been very, very successful in every initiative that I have created. I've been involved, I've been leading. And I'm confident that Lowell, when I was looking at this posting and the possibility for me to be your superintendent, this has the right size, the right community, the right challenges that I have, because urban education or urban districts in the country have similar challenges. We use the 90-90-90, 90% poverty, 90% minorities, but 90% success. So you look at the 30-30-30 for the minority groups in here or the groups in the city, are we developing the components for them to be 90% successful? And it's a very clear research that says that it is possible. It is possible that we can beat the odds of all the groups that are in the city. The data is also clear that the graduation rate is not the same for everybody. The achievement gap is prevalent among poor students, African Americans, Hispanic students, English language learners, students with learning disabilities. So I've been devoting my whole life to provide solutions to those challenges. And my work with principals or with the leadership in the school is how can we, from day one, we're going to be looking at the conditions they have to start correcting some of the issues that we have in the schools. So I'm confident that I'll be the right candidate for the position, not only because I love what I do. I always say that I don't work a single day of my life because I come to do my profession. I love what I do. I spend a lot of time in the schools and around the community. I've been very active in my years as a leader in the schools. So I believe I have the theory of action to be able to change and improve and make the district from good to great. And in Worcester, we spent 3 years developing that component. How can we move from good to great? And we have great schools in here, but we also have schools that are underperforming or needing some support. Within the district, you can come up with models to be able to modify that and turn around those schools and provide the changes that we need. So I'm confident that I also say many times, I don't like to experiment with kids. I don't think none of us should. The research is clear about what needs to be done in urban education. We need to just execute it, be able to have the plan to be able to do that at the school level, the classroom level, the principal level, the leadership level, and hopefully together we can be able to lead that process as we move forward. Thank you.
Ms. Martin?
Much. There you go. Good afternoon, Dr. Paez. I know you had the opportunity earlier, I believe this week, to visit the district, get a chance to see a couple of our different school facilities, meet with both principals and teachers and some students, central admin as well. Having gone through that process, could you share with us, was there anything that you learned during your day in Lowell, that maybe surprised you, that maybe made you rethink kind of coming into this interview, what you needed to be prepared for, or maybe planted a seed for, should you move into the superintendency position, what you need to kind of, that you may not have been anticipating, but that having spent the day here now has moved up in your priority list?
Thank you. No, I had a great time visiting this city. It was great. I talked to the staff in central office, and I spent a lot of time talking about what their needs were. And I asked them a simple question: if you have a superintendent, what would be your wish or your question for them? And they were ready for asking me all kinds of questions. But I moved quickly into the how can I help you type of mode. How can I be a thinking partner? I remember my conversation with the high school about the challenges of staffing, reducing staff, and the crisis that they have financially. So we move into looking at the numbers, and it was a conversation that I hope it led to some reflecting and be able to move into the how can we partner into this endeavor. The reality is that when you look at the front lines, teachers, and the lack of services in the schools, you have to be the person that is coming into the school and know how to do it. And coming from Worcester, we have 45 schools there, and working with the turnaround schools and working with the affluent communities and the successful schools. Every school, every culture is unique. And I think it's important that the superintendent understand the culture and trying to nurture that culture to become very successful. It would be a little bit pretentious to say that I'm gonna be changing that culture in the school. The reality is that that culture is led by the principal. I'm supportive of the school-based management component. That leadership team, the principal and their teachers and the leadership team are the ones who have the control of that culture. So I'll be working with them directly to be able to start looking at what is the complexity of their issue. And I'm very attracted by what happened in those turnaround processes. In Worcester, we had 3 schools that in 2 years, they become from level 3 to a level 1. And in Holyoke, we have the first year 14, 17 points increase. It is possible, but it has to be built in a way that is going to produce the results that we want. And also, I believe that every organization is built to produce what they are producing. We have to change something in the structure to be able to expect different results. So my experience here was great. I had a great opportunity to talk to people, in a very informal fashion, and I heard their concerns. They have some concerns about, obviously, the budget is in the front central office with a lot of cuts, a lot of positions that are vital, special education, human resources, support services. We talk about grants also. In that regard, let me talk for a minute about that. The interesting part about grants, I was managing all the grants, $18 million in Worcester. The alignment of grants is so important because that should be the result of the answer to your challenges. If you don't align your grants to be able to provide solutions and it becomes the opposite, a burden for you, that's not the grant that we needed. So in Worcester, I was able to align an application process to ensure that everyone who wanted to help us, quote unquote help us, because it wasn't really help, it's a business opportunity for someone to be able to use the district. So I was very overzealous about what is the intent, what is the outcome expected, and how that's going to benefit the district. So for me, that alignment of getting some more resources, that we could be an attractive district to getting more resources, but absolutely it has to be strategically organized. The language of those principles need to be embedded into the implementation. If it's not in there, it's going to become a burdensome component. Is the implementation that is going to be faulty implemented, is not going to produce the outcomes that are expected in the theory of action. So a lot of things, we talk about a lot of those things, but I think the one that to answer your question in a very short component, the number of students coming into the district and knowing that we have 2,500 kids attending charter schools, for me, that's something that I left thinking. How can we develop programs, especially at the high school level, to ensure that we provide what other people are not producing, other organizations, if it's a vocational track, not the same as the vocational school, but something else that is going to be attracting new families, to develop partnerships with UMass Lowell, to be able to look at the great universities we have in this area, to be able to make the district more attractive, more dual enrollment, cyber high school. I mean, you can develop all kinds of initiatives. But so I think the enrollment part was probably the most important one, because I know how painful the budget process is, and if we don't do something about increasing enrollments and be able to make the budget stable, it's going to be another round of painful cuts or painful decisions next year. So it was a great visit, but I get a good idea about how the challenges of the district are. And also facilities, that came clear. I mean, facilities is a big part of it. The high school is a big project, but we also have many schools that are struggling to get repairs, and developing a priority list and start targeting how the funding is going to be supplying and solving those issues is a very important task that we will have to work on. Thank you. Thank you for your question. I appreciate it.
Mr. Netta?
Thank you. Besides collaborating with the unions, and not just the UTL, but the LSAA and the clerks union, fairly and equally, one challenge that a lot of superintendents have seemed to have is communication with information between the superintendent's office, the school committee, the city administration. A budget was submitted without knowledge of the school committee, and they didn't know that ever until it was brought forward. Mm-hmm. They did not take a vote on it. Funds were improperly used to the point that we owe $2 million to a revolving food service account. None of this was ever communicated correctly to the city administration or the school committee as a whole. How will you ensure, and how do you communicate effectively with all members of the school committee, and working especially collaboratively with the city administration?
Great question. I think that the word that comes to my mind is trust. It has to be a trusting relationship between the superintendent's office and the school committee. I always see that the biggest or most well-defined roles of the school committee is finances and policy making. If we have those roles, my job is to ensure that there are no surprises, is no hidden agendas, is no backroom deals, is none of that stuff that I'm sure you know more than anybody that comes into this office. You'll be the veterans knowing all the ins and outs of the budget. So I'm sorry that happened, because that becomes a very untrusted relationship. I have to make every action very transparent to you. I have to make sure that we communicate effectively, either in a weekly Friday letter, or we have communication at the executive level or at the school board level. But no way is going to be something that is going to surprise the school committee. I think you don't like to be surprised, especially in something like this. And I'm very transparent. I really have no problem just sharing with you what we're doing, either at the informal level or at the formal level, because we all can talk offline. We all can talk 2-to-1 or 3-to-1 or whatever. We don't have to have a quorum for that. It's not an open meeting kind of situation. But it's definitely something that we need to talk about, because I believe that my role is to inform you as much as possible of every detail that happens in the ground. I'm the one who's looking at the principals, the classrooms, the teachers, the staffing. Every situation needs to be known to you. I have to be briefing you about any detail that happens in the school district, because you need to know. You must know. To be surprised, and especially when you have a public role, you represent in the community, you represent the city. It would be embarrassed that that happened under my watch. I'll be very transparent with you. We can create a mechanism. I think my routine was every Friday having a letter that I sent to the school committee. If it was just a data dashboard in which dropouts, numbers, attendance, whatever, we can develop our own data dashboard, but also with some narrative of what happened that week, because we don't want to be surprised. At the same time, if you have any issues that I need to know about, I'll be more than happy. Give me the heads up. Something is coming up. It's an issue in the neighborhood. Whatever you have the pulse of the community as well. So I would love to know informally. You pick up the phone, a text, a phone call, stop by. I mean, I'm very accessible. I know, and I'm very committed. And obviously, my actions have been very clear. I was committed to the Holyoke School Committee, and I have the utmost respect for them for what they did and how they develop that relationship with me. So I will do exactly the same thing with you. I have no problem to be transparent, and if it's a challenge that I have, I'll be obviously very open to tell you this is coming, this is happening, or some mistake happened maybe in an account or whatever it was, that if I didn't know about it, I mean, we just got to talk about it. Bottom line, we have to protect the system. We got to ensure that it's a stable organization, that the community trusts us, the people, the parents trust us. We have to be able to have that a positive relationship. So I'll be more than happy to create a mechanism that you are comfortable with and I'm comfortable with. I have no problem to communicate consistently with you in different ways. Personally, letters, formally, executive sessions. I mean, that's logic to me. I mean, that should happen, and I'm sorry that happened, because I can imagine the surprise to have a deficit of $2 million. I mean, it's hard to fix, but, you know. Thank you.
Mayor Samaras?
Thank you, Dr. Paez. Question I have, a concern that I have that we'll say I'm somewhat bothered by it. You know, you talk about some of the issues that you've had to face in Holyoke, but Lowell's, it's a good mid-sized city. As you know, it's got a great university. They have so many students graduating. They had one Friday and two today, two graduation exercises. But the best community college in the state, a business collaborative called the Lowell Plan, which is made up of all the business owners and bankers in this city, and an example of a public-private nonprofit partnership is Project Learn. And this is where the private sector has raised money to hire a grant writer to be used by the Lowell school system.
Wow.
Okay, so I mean, this is something that's important. Former Senator Paul Tsongas said that the success of the city has been because of the private-public nonprofits working together, these partnerships. And you've heard, I think, since coming into Lowell, you've heard the term partnerships, or it's a common term that's used, you know, throughout the state. But you'll find very few cities that are as generous or have business people so generous that in some cases they could help bail the system out on certain things if asked properly. But to be truthful, I have not seen in the past couple of superintendents, the willingness to embrace this, to be true partners, okay? To work with, I mean, we have projects with the university, we have projects with everybody, so to speak. We don't have what I call a partnership that's real, where the superintendent is an active voice in determining the direction and some of the funding of these partnerships. So my sort of, that's just my thing in life, or as a superintendent, with the important job of dealing with our teacher needs every day, basic needs in the school. The job itself is very demanding.
Yes.
But the thing is, do you believe that you should find time to embrace this, or is it not practical?
No, absolutely. I have to find the time to be visible. I was part of the Chamber of Commerce in Holyoke, and in Worcester, I have all the schools by the quadrants to be able to find a community partner that were helping the schools with different projects. And that created all kinds of initiatives about after-school programs, professional days, internships, you name it. I tell you, I believe that the public schools is a representation and an extension of our city. The future workers, the future owners, the future businessmen, the future leaders in our district, in our city, are in front of us in third grade or in second grade or just coming into kindergarten. I have to be able to make that connection with the, and I'm very happy that we have very strong connections with the city. I'd be more than happy to, and if they listen to this offer, I'd be happy to be invited to their board meetings or to be part of the board. I think the more I explain what we need, the more they can help us. I think the more we can be active about it, and the Chamber of Commerce in Holyoke was amazing. We were able to develop the support for the early literacy campaign. They provided some funds. We were able to make connections with them. I think that's part of my job. Even though I'm the instructional leader in the district, even though I have the skills to be able to develop those connections in the schools, the K through 12, we have to be talking to all the partners in the community. And not only that, how can we forge new initiatives to be able to have something that is going to be helping our kids for the future, and at the same time improving the quality of our life here. So in Worcester, I just to give you an example, we created this great opportunity of Future Teachers Academy. We were looking about how can we have more kids that, or teachers that represent our community. So we started developing something that it was in place before I came in, but I took it and I started in 9th grade to finish and develop this new Teachers Academy for the students that were at risk of dropping out. And then we were able to partner with Worcester State College and to be able to give them a semester in the college and to be able to also give them some employment while we're doing the after-school programs and be able to nurture those future teachers to be able to have that. When you think about a diversity plan or recruiting the teachers that we need, those kids are in front of us, so those future professionals are in front of us. I would love to have UMass Lowell work with me to be able to replicate what we did in Worcester. We had the college consortium in Worcester. We can develop those partnerships, but I think my job is to be able to sell the district and to be able to make strong connections to ensure that we have not only the support, because it's very important the support, but also the financial backing to be able to develop new initiatives. I know that I remember right now an example in the vocational high school in Holyoke. We were doing the early childhood program at the vocational school, and the Fuller Foundation gave us the seed money, $35,000, to be able to create that opportunity. That provided the funds to create a playground in the high school grounds and to be able to start that program. I have to be working with any organization that is going to be helping us. And my job as a superintendent is to be able to make those connections, nurture it, develop them, and I'll create the new ones. But it has to be part of my job. So I'll be more than happy to learn more about it, and I will make the time. I tell you, many of those meetings, believe it or not, happen at night, 6, 7 o'clock. So you just spend your evening, do school committee meeting, and then you have 2 nights going to the other boards. And I tell you, that would be my pleasure, because I see the connections. And another thing that we did with the early literacy campaign, as you maybe research, or at least what I'm saying to you, when we started aligning those resources, I said to these 44 entities that they needed to align their purpose to the purpose of the public schools. And that's exactly what I need to say here. If we have some challenges, they need to know what those challenges are. And they need to know that there are some things that they could do to help us. And my job is to make it very clear to them. And what I always said, it has to become self-evident. It has to be very actionable for them to do. So, and they'd be happy, 9 out of 10, or maybe 99 out of 100, they'd be happy to contribute and take the credit for doing that work and be partners with us. We have to create those opportunities, especially when we facing odds, we facing challenges. And I would love to be nurturing those relationships and build new ones. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Mr. Dakota?
Thank you. Thank you. The Lowell Public Schools have a great and wonderful dedicated school principals throughout the system. What is your approach to evaluation of principals?
But principals are the leader of the schools. The principal for me is very important, very, very important. I think that developing the connection with their evaluation, and the same as teachers, or the same as the superintendent, we are as good as the outcomes. If teachers are evaluated the same way, the principal and me need to be evaluated the same way. However, it's also my responsibility to surround that principal with the conditions for them to be successful. If I have a principal that is going to be facing the odds of one of our turnaround schools, the same with teachers, it has to be value added. It can be just, you have to become a level 1 by next year. You have to get closer. It has to be a progression that we can see some performance indicator and some progression towards that. If the progression is not significant and is the same as mine, I tell you, my performance needs to be very evident to you. When you evaluate me, I'm expecting you to see how in those rating systems, what have you made progress? And I'll be the first jury on that because I'm very critical about what I do. So I will ask the principals what conditions, and I have my meetings with them to be able to set those goals at the beginning of the year. What I did with my principals in the past, I have 2 curriculum and 2 student goals, and they have to align with the purpose of the organization. It has to be connected to data. So when the principals develop those goals, develop with me, not in isolation, it's not just my goals or our goals, it will be set by them. Then we have to ensure that they have the conditions to be successful. The last thing we want is setting someone to fail. My job is to set them up to be successful. How can I support them to be able to be successful? And if it's a marginal growth or it's not the growth that we expect, then we have the improvement plan that everyone needs, and then we continue with that. But I think I have to be part of that. And again, my job sometimes is difficult because of being the head of the organization for accountability purposes, but more than anything, I have to support the staff that work for me. And over the years, and I'm glad that you came to visit me. You saw 20 years in front of you. It was great to see my team from Holyoke, my team from Worcester, and my team from Central Falls. I think building that trust, that relationship with my colleagues, with my professionals, is a team effort. And I believe on that team effort. I believe on shared leadership. So I wanted principals to know that I'm not here as a punitive component of the job. I'm here to support them. It's very hard to be a teacher. It's very hard to be in front of kids every day. It's very hard to be a principal, the CEO of that school. So, or the CEO of the organization the same way. So high expectations, but also, like I said, they respect the high expectations and how to get there, similar to that component. But no, I'd be happy to work with our principals. What I want to say also in my visit, I heard that some principals were leaving because they were burned out, or that wasn't satisfying for them. I want the teachers, and this is the best part to frame this component. The best way to recruit someone is when you ask them, do you want to be part of something successful? Do you want to be part of an organization that's going to be the best in the state, or the best department, or the best objective that you're pursuing? You have to have that conviction. If we have the principals, the teachers, and the staff that believe that we are doing the right thing, that we're moving in the right direction, that's sometimes the best pay. But if we don't succeed, and we have less money, and we have budget cuts, and we have the conditions to fail, that affects morale tremendously. So my job is to ensure that I have the conditions to ensure that we have a good morale, because we have a plan, because we have a stability, because we have the funding, because we have been able to tackle that strategic thinking. I think people will be able to say, well, I'm going to be doing whatever I can for this leader. And the teachers, the students follow the teachers as well. I mean, that's the same type of trust that we need to build with everything that we do. But no, I have great experiences, and sometimes if it doesn't work out, well, we have to find the right fit to be able to support that professional. But I tell you, they work really hard. The principals, teachers, every day, that's a very, very challenging job, especially, again, in urban education. So we have to keep that in mind, and hopefully we have a good journey together. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Doherty?
So my question has to do with budgets. I would like to know your experience with budgets, and especially budgets that are almost $200 million, anything close to that you've done, and your philosophy around developing a budget, how you would approach it. Just kind of give me your whole take on budgets.
So I've been reviewing your budget notes, and I've been looking at what kind of budget you use. So you have the last session, I reviewed the last session that you had. So it's different ways to do this, but the zero-based budget seems to be the most logic in education, because if you are the principal, you have to be looking at how many kids you have, how many teachers you have per classroom, class size. Then you start looking at additional support services for supplemental, if it's English language learners or special education. So you can build your budget as you progress, and that also help you to revise what is happening in regards to maybe the sped is not as consumed or as demanding as it was before. We can maybe make some changes. My experience in Worcester, $278 million, even though that wasn't totally mine, because obviously Melinda Boone or Jim Cardonio, they were the superintendents when I was there. We were part of that process, how we build the budget in regards to the zero-based component. It's also a great opportunity for us to learn what happened in every school. So, but it's one core value for me that is very important, which is what is best for kids. Every decision that we made around the budget has to be about what is best for kids. So let me give you an example about how that looked like in the real life. So I'm coming into Holyoke. The first year we have to have $3.6 million cuts in a small district, not the size of this one, about 5,600 kids. We developed the criteria. I developed a core value for the school committee. I send you the template of how that would look like. We have class sizes, number one. We have supplemental services, compliance issues. We have a series of things that were kind of the basic components of the budget. And then I start proposing what I will be suggesting. And I think that's the best part for at least my relationship with you. I will be suggesting what I think is the most appropriate use of the funds to ensure that the diminish or the use of the funds are appropriate to what we need. So I don't believe I have to come into you and say, this is the problem, this is the challenge. I will tell you, this is the way I feel we need to. I'm recommending to have the budget be presented to you. Obviously, you have total autonomy to decide that part of it. But my job is to ensure that I have all the structure to be able to comply with the minimum level of services, class size, compliance, ELLs, supplemental, whatever it is, we have to be able to have that structure. Connected with that is a big component for grants. So you have the local funds and then the supplemental support services through grants or other monies and how that aligns. So my experience, and I like to do that very early in Holyoke because we were under the gun with the state compliance issue. It was October, November, we were looking at how the budget is going to look for next year. We didn't want to wait until April, May, that would be way too late. So, but that also allowed me a lot of opportunities to be dealing with the union leadership and start looking at transforming positions, maybe looking at how can we develop some transition into creating efficiencies within the district. We were able to transform some positions from, and I believe in my interview with the Blue Ribbon Committee, I explained how that happened in regards to having early retirement component for some teachers, bring them back as a 900 hours they could comply within the school. That saved $1.6 million alone. So it was a lot of things that we could do based on the zero-based component. So obviously, you have a process, and we have culture, and we have different things here that we have to keep into account. But for me, I would love to work with you to develop that philosophy, if it's the zero base or just the way it is, and to start looking at increases, either contractual obligations or cost of living or whatever rental or whatever other obligations we have in the district. We can do it either way, but I would rather work with you to make sure that I like the zero-based component, but if you have a different way of doing it, I would love to work with you on that. But I tell you, based on my experience, is ways to go around creating efficiencies within the district and be able to. And I tell you one thing about how to, perhaps maybe a recommendation at the same time. One of the biggest increases we have in Worcester, that's when I was doing the compliance for the Department of Justice, I noticed that we have many English language learners that were not identified. There was under-identification of English language learners. So I took the federal law and I said, okay, what is the definition of an English language learner? So home language different than English and not performing ordinary classroom instruction, so below average. So we took that and we started looking at what is the legal compliance for that. That alone brought $2.8 million the first year, because not only that's a right that the student has to be able to be identified and therefore have the supplemental support services, but we can identify different district issues that we can review. Perhaps the English language learners seems to be a little low for me here, having such a high number of households where English is not the first language. That would be a good place to be doing an audit and looking how that is. But in general, I think that the budget process, pretty much you own that. That's probably one of the biggest components of the school board. And based on the crisis that we are facing right now, I'll be happy to work with you to make it, transparent and proactive and early enough to be able to tackle it in the right way. Thank you.
Mr. Hoey?
Thank you. It's been a long day, so
I know.
some of the questions are going to probably get a little weird right now, but yeah, I'm speaking for myself. But I'd like to say this to you, Doctor. To me, in Lowell, I've lived here my whole life, and I think parent involvement is a big issue. Citywide parent councils starting to crank up again, something that was formed by other school committees that I think it's moving in the right direction again. But what I think has saved us from not being Lawrence or not being
Holyoke,
Holyoke,
New Bedford.
I think is because we have one of the best adult education systems in the state, maybe in the country. I've been watching that for over 25 years. And I don't think there's anything better than teaching these kids that need, you know, second language help learners and stuff, that we don't educate their parents to help them. So my question for you is, how important do you think adult education is also?
Well, first of all, that's not a weird question at all. I think it's a great question. In Worcester, if you notice my flow chart, I was in charge of adult basic education. And interestingly enough, the purpose of adult basic education is also to have them go to college, because it's a clear connection with what public education is. Public education is the promise to be everything that we can be as a nation of immigrants. So for me, that opportunity happens with the K through 12 or pre-K through 12, or hopefully earlier, but also with the parents. And the parents are the best advocates for our kids if we tell them how to help. And I think that's the part that we need to emphasize. I have experience, obviously, visiting families, creating opportunities for them to be part of the culture of the school. They need to become partners in the education of the kids. In Worcester, which is probably the most organized example I can give you, we have the nightlife, which is all for parents, and is a parent university that provides all kinds of opportunities for them to get the GED, to learn the language, to be able to connect with a pre-college type of environment. And Fanning Building in Worcester is very popular. I mean, it's 86 opportunities for them to join and be part of that. But we have to be able to make it accessible. It has to be able to be part of what they could do during their lives, because they have a busy life and they need to be part of the process. So one of the things that we did to restructure the curriculum for the adult basic education is how can we teach them whatever the content was, and at the same time connect with what the schools needed. So if it was ESL, well, we use how to read the report card, how to be participating actively in the life of the student, how to be welcome or feel welcome when they go into the schools to talk to the teacher when they have a parent-teaching conference, or just developing the ESL language, the language development they need to be able to be having the access that the students have in the schools. So adult basic education, I have to do an inventory of what you have here, but I tell you, that would be very important to us, because the more we engage the families, the more they would be able to help us. And I think it's our role, my job, to be able to provide opportunities for them to be accessing our schools. We have to open the schools for them to come into the schools. If we have an adult basic component that is away from the schools, let's make it a neighborhood school. Let's make it part of what the parents come to the school, and it doesn't have to be a literacy night or something. It has to be something that they are interested in doing as part of the community. What I did with the Southeast Asian community, the African community, we have a high number of African refugees in Worcester. We open the environments to be able to be right in the school. So every school, the quadrants, we have 4 quadrants. Every school have 2 satellite locations in which ESL, what I said, if you show me 7 parents, we can provide a teacher to be able to give you the ESL that you need. So the commitment, instead of sending the money to the church or to the community organization, I say, no, let's find out where they are. If you get me 7 people. Now, the reason I'm confident about telling you that is because Title III funds and Title I funds have that component. Title I requires a parenting component, and in Title III, which is ELS, the highest requirement for parent involvement. So no, I would love to do that. I think that also your role is very important, because you know the community. What I did in Holyoke, we have the different wards. So the school committee members set up the meeting for that neighborhood, and then I went to visit, and I bring the SPED director or whoever needed to be as a guest speaker, and then we have a neighborhood conversation. I would love to do that here. I tell you, the parents need to be active. Our parents need to be present. They need to be partners in the education of their kids. I don't think we can do this alone. And we have very visible parents, but I've always worried about the ones that doesn't show up. Just the one that doesn't show up is the one I need to visit, or that's the one the guidance counselor or the principal or someone needs to be making the phone call or sending the letter. But we need to be the ones inviting. We need to create the environment, that the welcoming environment is there. And obviously language is important. Who's greeting that parent in the school? Who's smiling in the front desk? Who's gonna be making that contact pleasant and positive for that parent to come back and say, well, I need some help. Not only because it's some trouble happening or some discipline issue, but because we want to make them partners on how to tell them how to develop the FAFSA application for college, how to be able to start developing the skills they need. So I love working with parents. Obviously, I speak Spanish. I can talk to them, and I love doing that. Unfortunately, I don't speak other languages. But I know in Worcester we have 76 languages. And what we did is that we have capacity within every school to be able to have 1 or 2 members who represented the majority of the language we needed. And statistics are important for that too, because even though we have 76 languages, we only have like 6 or 7 that were the majority languages. And when I settled that with the Department of Justice, we use statistics to say we can't really have 76 languages, but we could have 6 or 7, and then we were able to settle that piece. But the bottom line is we have to make our schools welcoming, and it has to be a contact that the principal or someone makes. In that adult interest on the family and the child is extremely important for our families. Thank you.
Mr. Lay?
Thank you, Ms. Ian. Dr. Paez, I'm going to tackle on a very similar topic, which is diversity. I know that many of our teachers and administrators who have been talking about wanting diversity in our school systems since they start working, and now some of them are already retired, and some are about to be retired, and we're still talking about it. And I want to know about your commitment on diversity. Do you have any plan to bring it to the next level? Do you have any plan to bring it to the next level? And how much weight do you put on paras and parent liaisons who possesses the second language that serve the students whose families speak their language?
Absolutely. Great question, thank you, and I'm glad that it's a priority for the school board, the school committee to be able to see this as a strength, because not only the students are with us, but we also have to have the staff members that connect with them. Unfortunately, at the national level, 86% of the teachers don't represent the population of the students that we have, and it's a national shortage of that. My philosophy on that, and what I've been very active about, is how can I recruit the staff that we have, not only at the teaching level, but I mentioned the Future Teachers Academy, that is students that are in front of us. If they are the makeup of the student, the future teachers we need, we have to make that happen. But one particular example I want to share with you is we developed 2 masters in ESL for our paraprofessionals and our aides. And we were in one of the conditions, and we developed this with Cambridge College and CCE, Center of Collaborative Education in Boston, about 5, 6 years ago. A condition for that is that 50% of the members of that ESL, masters in ESL, needed to be minorities. So we needed to make sure that we help employees to be able to get to the bachelor's and then pursue the ESL license and the masters in ESL. The district has to have a very specific target. And I'm not asking you the question right now, but if you have a diversity plan that had specific actionable points, if you're saying to me, by next year it has to be an increase by 3%, 5%, 6%, I'd be happy to do so, or I'd be happy to propose that plan to you. And I tell you, based on my experience as a minority myself, it's very hard to find the right candidate. It's very hard, but you have to just look for them. You just have to look for them. And I think if you have a target, and the target is to be able to increase the minority population by whatever percentage, I'd be happy to do that with you. Stacy Luster, the director of HR, when I was in Worcester, we had the diversity plan. I was part of that initiative, and we were networking all the time. We have visits or cocktail hours with the colleges, future professionals, future to be graduating from the colleges, and we have many universities and colleges in Worcester. And that networking is very important, having that membership to have future professionals ready for us, and then have them do an open house, bring them into the district, invite them to be having early recruitment for the population that you are looking for. But also it's a very important capacity building. If you have students who speak a different language, you have to be able to try to have candidates and then eventually hire candidates that speak that language, not only for the student's perspective, but the family perspective. We have to build capacity. In Worcester, that was years after years of doing that type of work. And when I developed my executive summary and the execution of that plan with the Department of Justice, I had identified in every building the people that were able to do translations and the people that were able to be part of those either one-to-one interpreter services, phone calls, or documents. And we were developing also a criteria who has the qualifications to do so. It's not only speaking the language, but be able to speak it well. If it's whatever language, Spanish, Portuguese, make sure that the person have the skills to be able to be on that SPED meeting. Also, just right now, I mean, this morning I was graduating many kids who did a Saturday Academy for me, and we opened a section for interpreter and translating services for high school students. This was for the medical and the legal field. This group of kids, about 20 in each group, are kids that will graduate with a certificate. It's about $500 per child. If they go get the track 40 hours of training on medical field or legal field, they could graduate and be able to earn better money being translators or interpreters. At the same time, those students could come back to us and help us. So we're trying to be able to strategically be able to nurture the future professionals. And I can emphasize enough, in only 5 years, 3 years, if you get seniors, juniors, they go to community college and come back to help us. We have to be able to make that commitment, especially students that we're targeting as representing our school body. That is so important. And again, we have the kids in front of us. We have to just do a long-term plan to be able to make that cycle happen and hire them back to us. It makes sense to me. So I'm obviously I'm more than committed to. I'm sorry if I didn't emphasize on that point. I'm more than. These targets that I'm looking at is not only, you mentioned instructional aides and paraprofessionals. I'm talking about principals. I'm talking about teachers. I'm talking about leaders in the district. We have to be able to reflect the community that we serve with our hiring. So I'm more than committed to make that happen with you. If you don't have an action plan, I would propose that one that is feasible, obviously that is measurable, and that we make it happen. But we have so many colleges in Boston and around the area. The state is the best universities in the country are right here. How can we find those folks? We can find them. We got to attract them, recruit them, and bring them to help us finish our job here. So thank you.
Ms. Martin?
Thank you. Looking at the different ways that you're making decisions as a superintendent and in some of the other positions that you've held, could you share with us some of your kind of the educational theories that really inform your work, whether it's specific theorists or just schools of thought around, knowledge acquisition and learning theory, all that, just so we can have a sense of what it is that is the kind of foundation for you when you're considering new curriculum or thinking about ways to restructure within a district. What are those overarching theories that really drive your educational decision making?
Great question. Obviously, we have the traditional Piaget, Erickson, all these researchers, but psychologists and developmental psychologists. But for me, one of the most fundamental component is the intelligence theory. If we have the intelligence theory and we know that every student learns differently, teachers need to know that we have, and all in front of us. And I remember my classroom, many kids were good in math, but other ones were not that good. We have some kids that are great in arts and music and spatial thinking and movement and poetry and languages, all kinds of things. For me, the most important, and this Howard Gardner from Harvard, who developed this theory of how we learn. For me, that's very important because what we need to discover in our classroom is how everyone learns. Once we discover that gift of knowing how one learns, we can develop that perspective around that learning. So for me, that's very important. It's very current. And also, it moves us away from the traditional teaching to kids in front of us like everybody's learning the same way. So I believe also that it's teaching, then learning. If we're teaching something and someone is not learning it, it's because we haven't really taught it well. So for me, it's to how can we work with teachers, with everyone, to make sure that we discover. And I always say the kids are like presents. We have to unwrap that present to be able to understand how the gift of that child is going to be learning and taking advantage of what we do in the district. But education is a beautiful thing. I mean, for us to be working with young adults, with kids, to be able to discover what makes them excited and the engagement into education, the passion for that, that's the best part of our job. And that's what teachers do every day. They discover what the kids are good. When they are passionate, when they are engaged, that's when we are started discovering how to accelerate their learning. So for me, the intelligence theory is probably the most prominent theory that I believe is effective. Thank you.
Dr. Paez, thank you. You gave us you provided us with a lot of information. Now the last 5 minutes is your time, okay? And you can close in any way if you want to finish off any answer that you felt was not complete, or if, like I said, there was that really pressing question you'd like us to have asked you, or if you just in any way,
Thank you.
it's your control of this.
Thank you. No, I tell you, this is a journey of love for me. I love what I do every day. I will continue doing this every day, regardless of where I end up. But I hope it's here. I hope it's here because I always believe I have a sense of purpose to be able to transform an organization like Lowell Public Schools. As an immigrant, I also am very thankful for being in this country. I'm the luckiest person to be an immigrant, to be able to be part of this great country. I think I have to pay it forward. Every time I move and I try to do something about my own life, I always look at how lucky I am and how can I develop something to create that condition for someone else. And I don't want to be the exception. I don't want to be that immigrant who ended up going to Harvard and is a success story. I want all of our kids to have the opportunity to achieve all their hopes and dreams. And one of the things that attracted the most to come here is that you feel that this is an immigrant city. It's a city where people have become everything that they can become. So I feel identified with what Lowell is. I feel identified. My son lives in town. He came from UMass Lowell. I feel that I'm part of the community. This is no foreign to me. I would love to be part of your system. I would love to serve you. I would love to serve the kids and the families of the city. But it's your choice. It's absolutely a tough choice. I hope I'm not in disadvantage for being the last one. Maybe I'm lucky to be the last one. I don't know. But it's definitely an honor for me to be here. And hopefully I can dedicate my time and my professional life to help you as you continue in this journey. So thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Dr. Paez, thank you very much.
Pleasure. Thank you.
We'll take a 5-minute break.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate it.
picture again.
Yeah, we gotta get you a new record something. How about you? Make you a mixtape or something.
Let's get him the best of Andy Dakota even.
We figured out this because we tried to run a new one. It won't play CDs burn on computers. Oh, really? Yeah, we got like a master this one on Target.
That's okay. The best of Andy Williams. Anything.
Good evening, everybody. Well, we've had a long afternoon. I think we can say we've had three very good candidates. I want to thank the Blue Ribbon Commission for a good job. Seriously, I think you gave us three candidates that were, truly worth interviewing. All right, with that said, the process will now be, the school committee has stated that they're willing to vote tonight. How it will happen is the clerk will call each school committee member by name, and that school committee member will state the name of the candidate they would like to see as superintendent, okay? And whoever has 4 votes will be hopefully the next superintendent of the Lowell school system. So I need a motion, yes, Connie, Ms. Martin, to have a vote.
My motion is to have the vote for the superintendent.
And second?
Second.
Given by Ms. Dakota, second by Ms. Martin. Reverse names, okay. I'd like to have the clerk now call the roll. It's been a long day. I've been starting
Yes.
What? Excuse me. Mr. Dakota, yes. We've had a long day, Tom.
Mr. Nutter?
Joel Boyd.
No, we're not doing that yet.
Okay.
We're just voting to,
Oh.
yes.
Yes.
Mayor Samaras?
Yes.
Mr. Dakota?
Yes.
Ms. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Hoey?
Yes.
Mr. Lay?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
7 yeas approved.
We might be eliminating Mr. Dakota from this non-cooperative. You know how many graduations? No, that's okay. All right. We now have agreed to have the vote. Will the clerk please
We
call
need a
the roll?
motion now. Motion.
Motion to move forward with voting for our next superintendent of schools.
Second.
Second. Thank you.
Okay,
Are we ready now?
we're ready.
This
Miss-
isn't a yes or no, right?
No.
No trick questions this time.
Mr. Nutter?
Joel Boyd.
Mayor Samaras?
Joel Boyd.
Mr. Dakota?
Joel Boyd.
Ms. Doherty?
Dr. Joel Boyd.
Mr. Hoey?
Joe Boyd.
Mr. Lay?
Joe Boyle.
Ms. Martin?
Joel Boyd.
It's unanimous for Dr. Joe Boyd.
And we
Thank
could
you.
have gone to 100.
I now need a motion that the Lowell School Committee appoint Dr. Joel Boyd, effective, I believe, July 1st, subject to a successful negotiation of a mutually agreeable contract of employment between the school committee and himself. Motion by Ms. Doherty, seconded by Mr., I believe, Dakota. That's your name. I need a roll call on this.
Mr. Nutter?
Yes.
Mr. Nutter? Mayor Samaras?
Yes.
Mr. Dakota?
Yes.
Ms. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Hoey?
Yes.
Mr. Lay?
Yes.
Ms. Martin? 7 yeas approved.
Motion to adjourn?
No,
Second.
no, no. You can't, no.
Have to wait.
I didn't hear that, so it doesn't carry. And it's not because of hearing.
They're going to call him, right?
The thing is, we have to now call the candidate. And I'd ask you to wait in recess and see if he will accept the position. Okay?
So move to recess?
Yes. Second? Thank you. I'll see Mr. Kuchar. We'll
I'm sure he's going to answer his phone, Mr. Boyd. Sorry about that, Jerry. I was trying to say to him, you need to call Kit, but I didn't want to interrupt her.
us back? Like to call us back from recess? Ms. Martin?
I need a roll call. You need a roll call. I need, yeah, I just make sure everyone's still here.
All right, we need a roll call from recess. Madam Clerk?
Mr. Nutter?
Here.
Mayor Samaras?
Here.
Mr. Dakota?
Here.
Ms. Doherty?
Here.
Mr. Hoey?
Here,
Mr. Lay?
Here.
Ms. Martin?
Here.
7 yeas approved.
Dr. Boyd has accepted the position, and subject to, an agreement made between the school department, school committee, and himself. So I want to thank everybody for a lot of work. I think we're tired, a little, say slap happy, but the thing is, a lot of good work was done. And Ms. Martin, again, thank you for what you, Ms. Doherty, Mr. Hoey did with the commission, because you provided a lot. I mean, people should know you did provide a lot of follow-up work and notes, and so it really helped give people a good idea about the candidates.
we do have one lady here from the Blue Ribbon Committee, Abisola Ogunzai, right there. She might be the happiest person in Lowell.
Thank you.
She
Thank you for your
she
work.
wants his number already so she can call him.
Thank you, Ms. Martin.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. You know, I want to echo those sentiments. The individuals who served on the Blue Ribbon Screening Committee put in a great deal of work, and I think did an exceptional job in recommending 3 absolutely high qualified, very impressive quality candidates for the superintendency. I also want to say, I mean, there was certainly a group effort in this. There were staff throughout the district who helped in coordinating site visits, who took time out of their schedules to meet with all of our candidates and share with them insights about the district. There were parents who were involved in this process, whether through focus groups or participating in surveys, and there were members of this committee who were able to take time to do the site visits, traveling quite a ways to be able to get firsthand information about each one of these candidates. So I think we all kind of came into today with very high expectations for all 3, and I just want to, express certainly my thanks, and I know for all of us from the community, the thanks of so many people who really, their hard work and commitment went into making this process, I think, very smooth, very professional, and ultimately very successful. Thank you all.
Okay, Mr. Hoey?
Just real quick, I think, thank you to Mr. Kuchar for the job he did. Connie Martin did an awesome job keeping it all together with 19, 20 people. And the only thing I'm concerned about, I'm not sure if we missed the people that didn't get an interview. They didn't come in the top 10, to make sure we send a letter out to them. I don't know if we did. I know I got a letter.
No, we did.
We did?
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful.
I mean, we made sure that we did that. It's only
Super.
the right thing to do with all the work.
Thank
that
you
we
very
did.
much.
Okay. Mr. Lay?
Thank you, Ms. Mayor. I rarely express my opinion, but I just want to say that during the Blue Ribbon Committees, having meetings 3 nights in a row, and I was at home, I was thinking about you guys, and you just want to say that you guys worked hard, so I want to thank you.
And, sometimes I wonder, though, if there's some other positions that perhaps these other candidates might be looking at in Lowell, because we do have some needs. But thank you, everybody. That was a lot of good work. Thank you very much. Need a motion to adjourn by Ms. Martin, seconded by Mr. Dakota. Is that it? I'm not going to stop now. Thank you, everybody.
Okay.